MELO Trimble, born February 2nd, 1995. In the early 2000s, there was a rapper by the name of Wale, a Washington, D.C. native that burst onto the scene with a diverse portfolio of go-go music, hip-hop, and major pop artists backing. Around the time other guys were becoming household names, namely Drake, J. Cole, Kid Cudi, Wale was holding his own and making a name for himself. But at first glance or listen, you could feel Wale just didn't have the natural gifts of the others in his class, a distinctive voice, look, personality, or bars. Although he worked hard to hone in on what made him successful, he wasn't able to carry that on to the next generation like a Drake or Cole. A guy with massive potential that either didn't have the natural gifts or just didn't capitalize on his opportunity, and it caused him his longevity. Although by some standards he's still pretty successful, just not a top-level artist having success. If I had to compare MELO to any rapper, it'll be Wale. Had a spark when he started, now he's just, well, MELO's not garbage, but you get the Jay-Z bar. MELO was a star in high school. He was an advanced scorer from the DC area that was so good at putting the ball in the basket that teams would literally sit 5 guys in the lane to guard him, forcing his coach to advise MELO to adjust and start learning how to kick the ball to the open guy. This change made MELO a household name, All-American, top 5 point guard recruit, and earned him an offer from his dream school, the University of Maryland, a school he's been following since one of his admitted favorite players, Juan Dixon, was getting buckets there and leading them to a national title. Stunt number 1, gray area players. When I see a player like MELO Trimble, the first thing comes to mind is, well, nothing really. Average height, below average athletic ability as in playing below the rim, like below. Not fast, although maybe deceptive. Not the most vocal point guard, not a high-level passer or defender, and just the shortest arms I've probably ever seen from a guy his height. MELO falls right in the middle of being garbage and great. And you know what? That's not that uncommon, nor a deal breaker. You'll realize a lot of players that fall into this category. A guy like Tyler Ulis, Tyus Jones, Tyler Ennis, pretty much any Ty name out there you'll find isn't much of a standout at what they naturally bring to the table. Trimble was one of the poster children for the overachiever. After committing to Maryland since December 2012, he would come in and shock the world with his gray area skills that seemed to fit in perfectly for the school, city, and position he'd find himself in. After a few key transfers from Maryland, Trimble knew he was coming into a starting position unchallenged and took advantage of it. MELO balled in his first month and a half, and his performance as a freshman earned him a selection on the John R. Wooden Award Mid-Season Top 25. On Saturday, January 17, 2015, Trimble scored 21 points and 5 three-pointers in the first half versus Michigan State. His team ended up having a pretty solid season where they made the NCAA tournament, won their first game, but was eliminated by West Virginia in a 69-59 loss. MELO had 15 points, 7 rebounds, made all of his threes, and shot 83% for the game, although only taking 6 shots. He ended the season averaging 16.2, 3 assists, a career-high 3.9 rebounds, career-high 44% from the field, and a career-high 41% from three-point line, while making 86% of his free throws. He was first-team All-Big Ten and National All-Freshman Team selection. If that's not a year that would shoot a prospect up the draft board and into the lottery, I don't know what is. Especially for a gray area prospect that didn't have standout gifts leaving high school and wasn't expected to be in this position at all. Stunt number 2, misguided. Salute to Nathan Nitanunu and Higashi Miyagi. When the story of MELO Trimble was requested, the first memory I had of him was, man, what a bad decision he made deciding to come back to school for his sophomore year. These kind of decisions rank up there with the Isaiah Thomas decision to keep playing on a bad hip or KD coming back when he knew he wasn't ready. It completely changes your career path and can make you expendable. I really hate seeing this, and I know if he could have a do-over, he definitely would leave after his freshman year. He had the numbers, the look, and his name was hotter than any at that point. He also had that glorious freshman glow that's so coveted by GMs and scouts. But I don't blame him solely for this misstep. I think Melo was misguided by one, his coaching staff, who obviously saw what he brought to the program, didn't want to lose him, and didn't do what was best for him. Where he was after that season, he didn't have to do anything. No workouts, no pro days, nothing, and would have been a guaranteed top 10 pick in the 2015 draft. I mean, Cameron Payne went lottery in that draft. Whoever was guiding him during this process should never be trusted by a player again, and really puts a black eye on your program when prospects see how you handled a clear-cut lottery guy. And two, by Melo himself. He was quoted immediately after losing in the tournament saying how he wanted to come back. His coach actually had to tell him, hey, let's take a second and think about this. Melo was dead set on coming back, and it did nothing but hurt him. Having a year like he did leaves nothing more that can be done. To all young players facing this decision, just leave, man. You'll never regret it. Take the opportunity to change your life forever. Those fans at that school, coaches, they'll all still be around coaching and cheering for the next man after you. You have to do what's best for you, and Melo didn't, and to me, this was the biggest stunt of his career. You can only fall from the year he had, and needless to say, that's exactly what happened. Stunt number 3, lost luster. Melo returned to school for not one, but 2 more seasons. In his sophomore season, he would try to show scouts he could improve on the one weakness they said he had, passing, which if you heard the numbers from his first year, that's literally all they could have picked on how good this guy was as a freshman. Although he did up his assist numbers to 4.9 from 3, his other numbers took a sort of huge dip. His points per game, his field goal percentage, rebounds, and most notably his 3-point percentage. Melo was Steph Curry levels from the 3 as a freshman. These numbers fell drastically by 10%. You gotta remember, this is a guy that didn't excel in any one area, so to have a year like that, I'm still not over the fact he decided to come back. With the addition of Rasheed Suleiman, the Terps were a game better from the previous season, being eliminated by the Kansas Jayhawks, and Melo was just average by the end of the year. At this point, you kind of have to return for your junior season with those numbers, and that's what he did. In his junior year, he was solid but not special. Not to mention, his numbers all took a dip besides his scoring. He also lost that attractiveness. Now we're looking at a guy who's now a junior and hasn't had the career individually or team impact he thought he would have upon his return. He lost that luster that made him burst onto the scene and became the guy the game and his class left behind. He would finally leave after his junior year and went undrafted. He would be a journeyman ever since. All in all, his lack of natural NBA skills were just exposed at this point. Skills that would have been masked by a guaranteed lottery contract and team investment. Being an undrafted free agent that didn't improve over 3 years in college with a below to average skill set compared to NBA players, we're just not gonna cut it. He's currently playing overseas with stints in the G League and Puerto Rico. A decent player that overachieved but didn't dive through the window while it was open, and it cost him millions. He's still young, and I really wish him the best, man. He seems like a solid player that can be a really good backup for a team, should he get the chance. It's your boy JC Stunted Growth, and I'm out.